and someone will pick up our wing pretty shortly, and off we go. I'm Tim Parrish, glad to have you along for the ride. Now, when I flew this initially, it took just under 6.5 hours, but you'll be seeing it cut down to around 45 minutes or so, and you'll see how it's possible to get a glider around a 400k course without an engine. Once we release, we'll be making our way over some quite flat terrain initially, apart from those hills in the background there. And we're flying over Wales in the UK. A fairly strong thermal day. However, to get back we'll be using a fairly patchy sea breeze convergence to get most of the way home. And in the Blanik that's going to be a bit of a challenge, but we'll see how we go, and I'll explain that a bit more as we go. And there we are, we've just released from the tug. He peels away, and there goes the Blanik in the background. This flight over the UK has 5 legs, indicated by blue lines on the map. Each one turns red as I talk about it. The first red one's up there already. By the way, if you want to continue flying, just skip to the next chapter. The chapters are down along the bottom edge of the video. Our aerotow from the airfield at Talgarth in Wales has left us close to the start gate and within easy reach of the nearest cloud that marks some rising air. Yep, that's a thermal. Fortunately, they're popping everywhere today. After a short climb, we cross the start line and use more thermals to reach the first turn point, which happens to be in England. After rounding turn point 1 at Longmarston Airfield, the thermals are a little stronger and go noticeably higher since the ground has been warmed by the sun. After rounding turn point 2 at Longmind, we head north-northeast on the shortest leg of the journey. Some clouds are overdeveloped and we have to dodge a rain shower. After rounding turn point 3 at Slape, we start to approach the coast and discover that the hilly terrain is incredibly scenic. It's somewhat nerve-wracking as well, since there are a few places to land. After rounding turn point 4 at Lyn Selin, a large reservoir, we contact a sea breeze convergence zone that provides long stretches of rising air. In the Blanik though, it's not quite consistent enough, and we end up quite low over the hills at one stage. Finally, having made final glide, we fly straight onto the downwind leg of the circuit and soon land safely on the grass back at Talgarth. Anyway, let's get back into the cockpit now. And we're just gaining a bit of height here. We'll need some more height before we cross the start line. We don't want to come to ground straight after starting the task. So here we are, just about to cross the start line. There we are, the start sector's turned to green, so we're off and running. So green down there, isn't it? That's the UK for you. Lots of moisture. Now we've found something here. Seems like the strength is fairly modest, but that's okay, we're just getting started. First thing in the morning. And it looks like that cloud's starting to break up, so we'll be out of here shortly. Now we've found another one a little further along. Just trying to get closer to the centre there. See if we can find the middle of this thermal. And we're off in the cruise once more. Looks like quite a decent massive cumulus straight ahead. And we're making a ground speed of about 65 knots or so. Plenty of places to land out there. So many fields. So many options for landing in this area. Now we've got some airspace we're approaching. Straight ahead and to the left. But that's okay, it only goes to about 2,500 feet, so we've got much more height than that. We'll be fine. As you can see, we're right over the top of it now, that airspace, but we're approaching 5,000 feet. Quite a decent thermal. Been in the air for about 30 minutes so far. More lift here, we'll take it. We're in a Blanik, so we'll be taking most of the lift that we come across. Quite a large metropolis down there. Not bad for generating thermals. Hot roofs and asphalt roads. Now we're a bit further along. And we've flipped to another screen of the flight computer. We've got about just under 45 kilometres to go before we get to the turn point at Long Marston Airfield. I think it's an old RAF airfield. This lift seems a little stronger, so that's good. The morning is progressing, the sun's warming the ground a little more. Let's see what we can find under this cloud. Although we've got reasonable height. Might just dolphin soar straight through, possibly. Another excellent thermal. Circling left this time. I like to alternate. Just keeps my hand in both directions. And it looks like we're over another airfield down there. Making about 35 to 1 at the moment, somehow. Still air, the Blanik will only do 28. Must have been in a little bit of weak rising air. And we're brushing against some airspace here, so we better straighten up before too long. Just about 200 feet short of the limit, so we'll pop the flaps in and wait for the bug to come into view, and we'll just straighten up on track and push the nose down a bit. See a few rain showers here and there. There's a bit of overdevelopment going on, so we'll try and steer clear of rain showers. There's a big one back there. And we can see the turn point sector on the flight computer there. Oh, and we have run into some rain. Never mind, it's not quite as critical to avoid rain in this machine compared to some more modern airfoil shapes that don't take kindly to raindrops. So it's not making a huge difference to the Blanik, I don't think. And we're rounding the turn point at Long Marston. And what do you know, we've run straight into some more lift. There's the airfield down below. And we're heading off on the second leg of the 5 on a very thermally active day. Clouds everywhere. And quite a bit of overdevelopment as well, as you can see by the occasional rain shower out there. Having a look around at the very flat terrain. It's another likely looking cumulus coming up. We'll head for the grey spot. But that looks quite good, so we'll put on a few extra knots. Get there quickly. Check out the side, make sure there's nothing there, and round we go. The thermals are definitely getting stronger. Let's see if we can get a little closer to the middle. Should really be going a few knots faster here, but there's some lift coming up very shortly. You can see all the cloud shadows. Let's see if we can find the stronger part of this lift. There it is. That's better. And we've just about hit cloud base here, so we better get a move on. Just exiting out of this lift region, getting a bit of speed up before the lift dies completely. You can see the Blanik, a bit of a nose down attitude there. If you think we're climbing pretty often, well, that's the way it is flying a Blanik. You can't go too far without a climb. It looks like we have a few kilometres to go here to get to that next cloud. We'll be fine. We're just under 6,000. Fairly conservative 60 knots. We could probably do a bit more. Now we've got some hilly country coming into view, so we'll probably pass over that before we reach the turn point, I'd say. Just looking at our flight computer, we've got about 24, just under 25 k's to go before we reach that turn point. That's at Longmind. We're just above 4,000, so we really needed this climb. Just brushing cloud base. And we've finally got the turn point sector in view on the flight computer. Well, as we get closer, we'll just zoom that up a bit. healthy looking cloud above us, so we should be able to make it up to cloud base once again. Oh, you see that lightning in the background. And we're just about there, just about to go round the turn point at Longmind. We'll have a look out the side, make sure there's no traffic approaching, and round we go. And we're heading off on leg 3, the shortest leg of the trip actually. And there seems to be a rain shower directly in our path, but we'll just get this climb first and then deal with that. Good strong conditions still, that's good. And it appears that if we correct our course and head straight for the turn point, we'll go straight through that rain, so we'll make a point of just flying to one side, to the right hand side, and we'll see how we go. And there's some lift directly ahead anyway, so we'll try and make use of that. Comes the rain. Let's see if we can sneak past without getting a drop on the canopy. Just 16 kilometres now to the turn point at Slape. And there it is on the flight computer. We're getting closer. Take another good climb here. It's a bit of a big township down there. Looks like two towns quite close to each other actually. Yeah, we're just a few k's out, well 1.6 actually from the turn point, and we're taking another climb. Why not? Looks like it could be quite strong. There it is, just working our way towards the core. And here we are at Slape. And the sector's gone green, so we'll just look out the side, make sure there's nothing coming, and around we go, heading straight for the ocean now. And we're heading off on the fourth leg, heading towards the ocean. Out there somewhere ahead of us. And for the time being, the outlanding country is still quite good. Lots of large fields down there. But as you can see ahead of us there, that's about to change. And we can see the terrain ahead of us is quite high. In fact, it's some of the highest terrain in this region. So we'll just cut back to a knot or two above best glide and just take it easy so we don't squander too much height. And the outlanding situation is rapidly getting more challenging. To land out here anywhere, you'd need to keep an eye on the slope and land up the slope if possible. And it looks like we're approaching some snowy slopes up ahead. Looks quite picturesque. Just feel around here, see if there's anything happening, but maybe not. So we'll just push on, I think. Whoa, this is so strong. In fact, I think this is the strongest patch of lift we've encountered in the whole flight so far. It's coming off a mountain slope, so that partly explains it. The sun warming the slope. The lift is often stronger in the hills, in the mountains, than on the flat. And we're just about to hit cloud base here, so we better pull the flaps in and get the nose down and get out of here. Let's see if we can find another good climb under this cloud. We're actually starting to see the first signs of the convergence. There's some high cloud up there in the other air mass. And here we can see the reservoir, the lean Selin reservoir that we'll be turning at. having topped up to over 6,500. We're pushing on and we hope we can make it to this turn point before we get too far into the other air mass, because there's not much left in the sea breeze. And we're just approaching the turn point sector. Now it's gone green, so we'll just check out to the side, make sure there's no other traffic, and here we go, heading south, and we'll follow the coastline for a while and try and find that convergence. We're on the last leg of the flight, fairly long leg, and it's fairly clear where the convergence is. There's plenty of cumulus clouds marking it. And we're just arriving at the first cloud now, so we'll see what we can find. Might also notice that there's quite a bit of high cloud on the right there and a blue sky to the left. So it's marking the two different air masses. We've got about 8 knots coming from the left and quite a bit more coming from the right with the sea breeze, the cool air mass. We haven't actually run into any rising air yet, which is a bit of a worry. So let's hope we can find something off this sunlit slope here, just to get us started. There's something. We'll take this for sure. So we're at about 3,500. Let's hope we can get at least 5,000 feet, and then we'll try and contact those clouds along the convergence line and see what happens. So just under 6,000 here, heading for a very promising looking cloud, and there's a few more further on, so perhaps we're in a stretch of the convergence that's working a little better. We're going to try and make most of the distance to Talgarth in a straight line, or without turning rather. And we'll stretch the Blanik to its limit. We'll go quite slow when there's any rising air, try and make the most of it. Drop a bit of flap. There's the flap. Might have heard it drop down there. And the Vario's singing, so that's good. Now we're just cruising along, just a couple of knots above best glide speed for this machine. So we're really trying to get the most out of this old bird to avoid having to throw a turn. That's the general idea, flying down a convergence. You should be able to cover quite a bit of distance without turning, if you can find the band of lift. Except this convergence seems a little patchy. Some stretches are working okay and others there's not much. It might be a bit of reduced sink perhaps, but it's not actually lifting in some sections. But it appears we're approaching quite a good stretch now as the convergence diverts a little way to the right. Doesn't appear to be perfectly straight. winds around a little. Now here it's lifting all right. There's the ocean off to the right there. We'll probably lose sight of the water eventually as the convergence drifts or keeps pushing along further inland. Just exploring a little. And we seem to be latching onto some weak lift, so we're still flying straight, that's good. There's quite a healthy stretch coming up here, so let's see if we can ride it all the way to 6,000 or so. Oh, we're at 6 already. Maybe we can make 6.5. Just pushing it back up to best LD. Gee, that looks great, doesn't it? Quite interesting terrain underneath. Though we do have a valley off to the left that we could land in if we had to. Once again, we're just floating along in weak lift. And we haven't had to throw a turn in quite a while, so that's good. Now we've got some airspace coming up, as you can see on the flight computer there, so we need to avoid that. And at the same time, we're heading directly back to the airfield at Talgarth. So this will actually take us away from the convergence line. So from now on we'll be back into thermal cross-country mode, flying a little faster between lift. And we'll just have to take a thermal or two now to get home. And we're just under 30 k's out. Let's see if we can make another 1,000 feet or so in this thermal, and we should be on final glide pretty soon. Conditions are still quite strong out there by the looks of it, so we should have no trouble getting home. And in fact, we've made final glide. We should arrive at around 1,200 feet according to the computer. So no more thermaling. We'll just monitor our height. See the we're in the other airflow now, 8 knots. From our left. There's a slight headwind component as well, but got a little margin there. And here we are, flaps set for landing. Undercarriage down and locked, and we'll just poke it up to around 50 knots and hold it there, trim it for 50, and we're home. And we're about to turn base already, having flown straight onto downwind leg after finishing our task. And shortly we'll be turning on a final. There we go, and we've overshot, but there's a reason for that. There's some trees right on the threshold. So we'll just approach from the right a little bit and then make a correction here and hold it off, and we're down. So there we go. We've had an epic flight over a large part of Wales and some of the western portion of England as well. We're sitting in an L13 Blanik, a two-seat training glider. You can see me checking the controls for full and free movement there, rudder pedals as well. And the air brakes, we want to leave them closed and locked. Flaps, we'll leave the flaps in the Blanik for takeoff. Now outside we've got a bit of a crosswind from the right. There's the Husky, just waiting to start up a little later. No obstacles that I can see down the strip, so that's good. We set the trim to fully forward for takeoff. Instruments, just under 1,000 feet showing on the altimeter. That's the height of the airfield above mean sea level. And over on the right there is the PDA. I'll just refer to that as the flight computer. Just waiting for the Husky to start up. We'll hear it in a moment. There it goes. And someone will pick up our wing pretty shortly, and off we go. Why not try some other part of the world now by checking out one of these videos? Each one documents an epic journey, of course.